Christ in me arise and dispel all the darkness. Christ in me arise with your power and your strength. Christ in me pour out your blessing and healing. Christ in me arise, and I shall rise with you. You know my heart and you know my ways. You will form me in my mother's womb. I live and move in you, my whole being thrives in you. Christ in me arise and dispel all the darkness. Christ in me arise with your power and your strength. Christ in me pour out your blessing and healing. Christ in me arise. Christ in me arise. Christ in me arise, and I shall rise with you.
Welcome to all my first graders today. I know you're anxious to hear what's happening in the dark day and the deep sea, so we'll continue reading today. We left off at a very precarious point where Annie was getting in trouble by Jack because she was talking about knowledge, about the sea being 2 miles deep, 6 miles deep at the deepest points. And the scientists of that time did not know that. So that's why Jack was getting so angry at her. My, you know a lot about the sea, said Henry, looking at Annie with curiosity. Well, I know about mountain ranges and volcanoes that are down there too, said Annie. Jack leaned closer to Annie. Stop showing off, Jack said under his breath. I mean, maybe, just maybe, Annie said to Henry. Of course, I'm only guessing. You are a very good guesser, said Henry. On our voyage, we've collected many volcanic rocks from the deep. Cool, said Annie. How'd you get them? Mini subs? Mini subs? Asked Henry. You know, they carry you down to the deep sea, said Annie. Annie, Jack said between his teeth. He gave her a look that said, just stop. Jack was pretty sure mini-subs hadn't been invented by the early 1870s. He quickly changed the subject again. And you study butterflies too, he said, pointing to Henry's net, and seashells. Indeed I do, said Henry. In fact, I came ashore to search for a rare shell just now, and I think I may have found its cousin. He opened his book to a page that showed a pencil drawing of the shell. Would you like us to help you look for more? Asked Annie. And this is the picture of Henry showing Annie the shell. Why, thank you, said Henry, but I have quite successfully found what I came for. We'll be going back to the ship now. Oh, please, can we visit the HMS Challenger? Annie blurted out. Did you notice how I read that? Oh, please. Mary Pope Osborne wrote please in a different type of writing, like italics. It's kind of like a slanted writing. So as the reader, it tells me to read it with a little bit more emphasis. You can do that in your stories, in your writing workshop stories. That would be awesome. If you could start putting bold print words or words with really fancy writing, because you want your reader to read it in a different way. Out of the question, said the sailor named Joe. Well, said Henry. Sir, the captain would never approve of bringing children on board, Tommy broke in. It's absolutely against the rules. Henry looked at Jack and Annie. Jack didn't want to break any rules, but at the same time, he really wanted to visit the ship. We'd really like to learn more about sea exploration, he said. He gave the scientist a hopeful smile. We promise not to get in anyone's way, said Annie, and our parents like us to learn new things. Henry turned back to the two seamen. Surely such bright and curious young people should be allowed to visit our ship, he said. Since we'll be drifting and dredging in this area all day, we can return them to shore before nightfall. Listen to that sentence again. Since we'll be drifting and dredging in this area all day, we can return them to shore before nightfall. Do you know what part of speech drifting and dredging is? Well, they're verbs. If you guessed a verb, you are correct. Drifting means that the HMS Challenger is just going to slowly move wherever the wind takes her. We call ships her. And then the dredging part of it is when they send like these big pipes down to the bottom of the sea, and they use a pump to get all the sludge from the bottom of the sea and the sea creatures to go back up so they can examine them from the ship. So those are two verbs. Joe and Tommy frowned and looked at each other, but Joe finally gave a quick nod. Yay, Annie said. Thanks, said Jack. We promise we won't cause any trouble. We promise we won't cause any trouble. I think a problem's going to happen, don't you? I think there is going to be some trouble. See that you don't, said Henry with a smile. Joe and Tommy, would you mind lending our two visitors your life preservers? Never fit 'em, sir, said Joe. Well, we must do what we can to keep them safe, said Henry. The two seamen grudgingly handed Jack and Annie their bulky vests. So these are old-fashioned life preservers, thought Jack. The vests were made of blocks of cork tied together. Even though Jack buckled his tightly, it hung low on his body, almost slipping off. So the life preservers in those days were made from cork. Now, as we know, cork comes from a type of tree. It's a very spongy type of material, and we use it to cork the bottles of wine. You see wine corks. I believe I showed you one this year in class. So if you can imagine having huge, big pieces of cork all over circling your body to keep you afloat. But remember, they're hanging very low on their body. They don't fit well. So let's see if that comes into play later in the story about these life preservers not fitting well. Oh, I'm afraid they're rather big, said Henry, but still they might save you should we capsize. And does anyone know what capsize means? Capsize means if the boat should flip over and turn over and you're dumped into the sea. Capsizing is not a fun thing to do. Don't worry, said Annie. We're really good swimmers. We should go now, sir, Joe said impatiently. Yes, yes, Henry said. Let us be off. Joe and Tommy pushed the rowboat into the shallow water. While Jack and Annie had been talking with Henry, the water had turned choppy. Now, choppy means that there's white caps out, meaning that there's a lot of motion in the sea, and you see white froth starting to form on the crest of the waves. Dark gray clouds had rolled in, hiding the sun. Dark gray clouds. Can you pick out the noun in those three words? Clouds. So dark and gray are called adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. Instead of using one adjective to describe your nouns in your writing workshop stories or your journals, try using two to describe your nouns. That would be fabulous. And your reader would be so much more interested in reading a story with two adjectives. Climb in after me, Henry told Jack and Annie, and they followed him into the rowboat. Do you remember what that's called. Climb in after me. Brush your teeth. Sit down. Do your homework. Those are called, do you remember? It was a while ago. Commands. Yes, that is a command. Climb in after me, Henry told Jack and Annie, and they followed him into the rowboat. Jack's backpack wouldn't fit over his life jacket, so he clutched the pack to his chest as Joe and Tommy pushed the boat farther into the ocean. The sailors jumped in, picked up their oars, and began rowing back to the ship. Chapter 4, Off the Ship. The wind's against us, Joe said as he and Tommy rowed. Even after the boat moved past the breakers, it kept bouncing up and down on the swell of the waves. Water splashed over the sides and soaked Jack's clothes. But Jack wasn't worried at all about the wind and water. He was worried about being seasick. Do any of you get seasick on a boat? Perhaps you don't know if you get seasick because you haven't been on a boat. He was worried about being seasick because waves of nausea had started to come over him. Sorry, it's a bit of a tough going, Henry said. We can take it, said Annie. We hope, thought Jack. The last thing he wanted to do was throw up, especially in front of Joe and Tommy. We should get back just in time to see the men haul up this morning's catch, said Henry. This is so much fun, said Annie, her eyes shining as the little rowboat bobbed up and down. Jack wasn't having any fun at all. To keep from being sick, he gripped his backpack, closed his eyes, and gritted his teeth. Every day we make new discoveries, said Henry. Off the coast of Argentina, we found over 100 new species. Giant worms several feet long, shrimp the size of lobsters. Caught them in our nets, didn't we, Joe? Aye, said Joe as he pulled on the oars, but the creature that never been caught is the one that these mates should be worried about. What creature is that? Asked Annie. The great monster, answered Tommy. Jack opened his eyes. What? You mean like a shark? He asked. Oh, no, lad. 'Tis much worse than any shark. Even the 20-foot tiger shark that's been following us, said Tommy. The sailor blinked nervously. I like that saying. The sailor blinked nervously. What is the verb in that sentence? What action or movement is Tommy doing? He's blinking his eyes, yes, in nervousness. Whoa, a 20-foot tiger shark, thought Jack. He looked at the dark water for a shark fin. Oh, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to stop there and leave the rest for next time. Dark day in the deep sea, to be continued. See you next time, class. Bye for now. Hi, guys. I'm in my backyard, and this is Skye. Oh, are you sitting? Sit. Okay, you stay. So you saw Nibbles get a carrot top. That's the part of the carrot that grows above the ground. The part of the carrot that grows underground, Sit, is the part we actually eat. This is the actual carrot. The root is what we eat. So Skye, Sit, Skye loves carrots, but I'm going to show you how we feed Skye carrots once in a while. Stay. Sit. Stay. 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 Okay. All right, sit. Sit. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Yes, good girl. Say goodbye. All right, bye everybody.